No one would have believed, in the last years of the Great Crusade, that human affairs were being watched from the timeless worlds of space. No one would have dreamed we were being scrutinized, as someone with a microscope studies creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. Few men even consider the possibility of life on other galaxies, and yet, across the gulf of space, a mind immeasurably superior to ours regarded this galaxy with envious eyes, and slowly and surely they sent their fleets against us. Welcome, gentle listener. I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and faces of the Warhammer 40k universe, universally dubbed the grim darkness of the far future. It is my usual process to begin with a little tale of the thing which we will discuss, but I shall have to ask your indulgence this once, and ask you to forestall your satisfaction in this regard until the weekend. My Friday or Saturday night offering, depending on how I progress, will be the Death Watch, and the video will contain a full knock-down, drag-out conflict, worthy of the wait, I sincerely hope. And obviously, it will be with this creature. So, of whom or of what do we speak today? Well, as per the thumbnail, we are to discuss one of the most horrifyingly dangerous threats in the entire setting, the Prince and Master of the Tyranid Hordes, the Swarmlord. Now, for the very basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, Hive Tyrants. Hive Tyrants are the commanders of the Tyranid swarm and enact the Hive Mind's will on the battlefield. Though individuals may display a wide variety of physical characteristics, all Hive Tyrants are fearsome hulking monsters that tower over even a dreadnought. They are brutally strong, able to shatter ferrocrete with sickening ease. Every part of such a beast's body is perfectly created to kill, even the layers of chitinous plating that protect them. A Hive Tyrant is a formidable opponent at any distance, as deadly with ranged weapons as it is with bone sword or claw. Hive Tyrants are highly psychic, and their relationship to the Hive Mind is amongst the closest of any known bioform. Indeed, the synaptic link is so strong that they are the primary conduits through which the Hive Mind enforces its dominance over a hive fleet's lesser creatures. The instinctive nature of a Tyranid swarm is smothered with implacable drive and purpose. The need to hunt and devour is imbued with a cunning and tactical awareness that would put the galaxy's finest strategies to shame. Hive Tyrants were created not only to overpower their prey, but also to outthink them. Unlike many Tyranid creatures, Hive Tyrants are incredibly intelligent, and are even, to some extent, self-aware. Whilst they are still slaves to the Gestalt consciousness of the Hive Mind, they are given wider latitude in achieving its goals. As such, they can respond to battlefield events far faster than the inscrutable Hive Mind, and adapt the behavior of the swarms they command accordingly. As a result of their highly developed synaptic connection, and with greater levels of intelligence, Hive Tyrants are also able to manifest potent psychic powers. Harnessing tiny slivers of the Hive Mind's terrifying will, Hive Tyrants will invigorate the swarm, shattering their foes' morale, or shred the minds of their prey. Should the Hive Mind require it, Hive Tyrants can also be adapted to possess a pair of vast leathery wings. Winged Hive Tyrants dominate the skies above a battlefield, swooping low to disembowel enemy commanders with a lash of their prehensile tails, or unleashing torrents of flesh-melting energy from monstrous biocannons. While such organisms may lack the speed of fighter aircraft, they are perfectly capable of smashing an unaware pilot out of the sky with their bladed hooves, sending burning fragments of his vessel raining onto the ground below. Hive Tyrants embody the Tyranid Hive Mind completely, but their destruction does not in any way diminish it. Death is simply another learning experience that gives insight to the prey's strengths and weaknesses. This goes some way to explain why the Tyranids can rarely be defeated the same way twice. Should a Hive Tyrant be slain on the battlefield, the Hive Mind simply grows a replacement, imbuing it with the same knowledge as its predecessor. Fortunately for the rest of the galaxy, this does not lead to infallibility of purpose. Even the most fearsome Hive Tyrant cannot anticipate its prey's every ploy, nor can it oversee every quarter of the battlefield. However, the Hive Mind's capacity to regrow its fallen leaders does render each Hive Tyrant practically immortal. No matter how many times a Hive Tyrant is killed, sooner or later it will always come back to overcome and devour its prey. The creature known as the Nephilim King is a particularly notorious Hive Tyrant specimen. This beast leads a splinter of Hive Fleet Behemoth, and fights at the head of a group of synaptic creatures in gigantic biotitans. This so-called court of the Nephilim King relies not only on sheer numbers, but on the ferocity and intelligence of the most advanced Tyranid bioforms, forming a twisted mirror of a knightly brotherhood. Countless foes have sought to slay the Nephilim King, but the monster has thus far turned the tables on all its would-be hunters, swiftly turning them from predator to prey. The Swarmlord, the herald of the Hive Mind. Amongst the billions of creatures created by the Hive Mind, there exists one as old as the Tyranid race itself. This creature is the very pinnacle of the Hive Tyrant bioform, the ultimate conduit through which the Hive Mind's will is enforced. This creature is to a Hive Tyrant what a Hive Tyrant is to a termagant. It is a monster of darkest nightmare, that has preyed on empires and overseen the extinction of entire civilizations. It is a legendary destroyer of worlds, and its names are legion. It is the Tyrant Lord of the Hive Mind, the herald of the Great Devourer, and the destroyer of the Kala Empire. To the Imperium of Man, the latest to face this ancient predator, it is the Swarmlord, and it represents the greatest Tyranid threat to the galaxy. Since the First Tyrannic War, the Swarmlord has carved a path of carnage across the galaxy. It was responsible for the scouring of the Megaia system, the destruction of the Brainar race, and the consumption of War Gorglak. Not only did these events span several centuries, but each was perpetuated by a different Hive fleet. It would therefore appear that the Swarmlord's link with the Hive Mind transcends normal physical limitations. If the Swarmlord perishes on the battlefield, the Hive Mind reabsorbs its consciousness through the synaptic web. The Swarmlord is therefore deathless, and can be regrown to face the enemy again, returning stronger each time. The reincarnation of the Swarmlord appears to be a stress-induced response by the Hive fleets, one triggered when its prey cannot be defeated through biological adaptations alone. Indeed, each time it has been reborn, the Swarmlord has been created with the express purpose of outthinking the enemy, and developing new strategies to achieve the greatest results with warrior beasts fighting around it. To this end, the Swarmlord possesses more autonomy than any other Tyranid creature yet witnessed. The Swarmlord combines its own resourcefulness and experience accumulated through eons of bloodshed. Such is the Swarmlord's alien cunning that on several occasions during the Battle of Macragge, it was able to outmaneuver and outwit the Ultramarines, warriors whose own tactical acumen is legendary. In the final days of the 41st millennium, a chaos tendril of the Hive Fleet Leviathan crashed down upon the Blood Angels' homeworld of Baal, and its two moons, Baal Prime and Baal Secundus. Innumerable swarms of screeching bioforms fell upon the defending Blood Angels and their successor chapters. At the heart of the Tyranid host that surrounded the great fortress monastery on Baal lurked a mighty Hive Tyrant wielding 4 vicious serrated bone swords. This monster wreaked untold carnage during the assault, slaying scores of Space Marines and directing the flow of battle with lethal cunning. As the battle approached its climax, Chapter Master Dante himself sallied forth to challenge the great beast. With a carving slice from the Axe Mortalis, Dante slew his foe, but he was gravely wounded in the act. None know the truth of what happened to the Swarmlord after the Cicatrix Maledictum tore reality open and devoured the tendril of Hive Fleet Leviathan surrounding Baal. Yet only the foolishly hopeful believe that the galaxy has seen the last of this dread creature. Should it return, the knowledge the Swarmlord will have absorbed from the war in the Baal system will only serve to make it a far more dangerous foe than ever before. End quote. End quote. The Swarmlord, an avatar of sorts, as is so often seen in the Warhammer universe. The dark gods of chaos have their avatars, the demon princes and greater demons, for they are truly only extensions of the power and purpose of the corrupting forces. We have more in the form of the avatar of Calum and Chicane, the bloody-handed god of war and murder, and the Incarn, the avatar of the sleeping god of death, both of the Eldrai pantheon. Avatars are fun things to have, both in the lore and on the tabletop, as they provide a very clear and present location of evil or good. When one faces such a colossal foe, it can only ever be a historic moment that goes to either bejewel or to end the budding saga of the combatant who challenges them. And few avatars can be as concerning, as intimidating or as threatening as the Swarmlord, the very avatar of the Great Devourer itself. For the Swarmlord is the only counter to such military powerhouses as Imhotep, Xandrek, Iriel, or any Primarch. He is the answer to the only question that the Hive fleets ever encounter. How do we overwhelm the defenders? How do we crack the nut to get to the flesh, the biomass within? For the swarms of the Tyranids have no other purpose. Not for them the crusade, the righteous wrath of an enemy slain, or a betrayal revenged. No. For the Tyranids have no goals. They have no desire to dominate, to control, to defeat, or to elevate themselves. They are simply hungry. They require food. That is it. So anyone facing the Tyranids are up against the ultimate challenge, the worst case scenario, fighting a crazed and angry thing that is literally fighting for its own survival. Like a wounded animal, the most fierce opponent is the one with their back to a wall, and due to the vast requirement for sustenance, the Tyranids always have their backs to a wall. And so many underestimate this being. I have no idea why, truth be told. For the Swarmlord may well be the oldest combatant in the grim darkness of the far future. We simply have no idea. What if the Tyranids, as some suspect, have actually been devouring whole galaxies from time immemorial, like a cosmic Pac-Man going round and round, gobbling everything up? That would mean that the Swarmlord, one of the only sentients to move with the Hive, and not to be utterly dominated and subsumed by it, may well have been fighting for tens of millions of years, perhaps even billions. So when you see one set up across from you on the table, the field of glory, do not just think how you will win the game, how you will lose. Think how your men will regale their friends, their kith and kin, about the legend that is to be wrought on this day. For win, lose or draw, any battle involving any avatar, any, but most especially the Swarmlord, is surely a thing of legend. Cherish the moment. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. I hope you've enjoyed this brief look into the lore of the Swarmlord. If so, then do please consider liking and subscribing, and definitely hit the notifications button to alert you of the impending entry that will show him off in all of his glory. See you there. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.